Welcome to Extended Disc. In today's webinar, we want to provide some background for those of you who may not have met us yet. Extended Disc is an international assessment company with operations in almost 50 countries and 250 team members. Extended Disc offers internationally validated assessments that can be tailored to clients' unique needs and preferences. If you'd like to learn more, contact us on our website or follow us along any of our social media outlets. As a reminder, this webinar will be recorded and all registrants will receive a link to the recording, and it will also be posted on our YouTube channel. Use the Q&A section to ask us any questions you may have. If we are unable to answer them during our live session, we'll reach out to all registrants with the response. Thanks for joining us. And now here's the host of today's webinar.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. We are here today, and our topic is how, oh my goodness, we're already having a little slip up. How DISC increases your team's productivity. My name is Wilma, and I'm here with Christina, and we are delighted to be here because we've been talking about this. We saw each other in the office this morning, and then we were talking about it in the afternoon, and we kept saying, we only have 15 minutes, so we better get after it pretty soon. Christina, welcome.
Hello, everyone.
So today, this webinar is recorded, and you can find it on our website. I'm going to get right after it. So our topic is DISC. How does DISC increase your team's productivity? One of the things that we know is that leadership is about relationships. The quality of your relationship speaks to the quality of your work. In many instances, I would say relationships are the new bottom line at the office. We don't work in a vacuum. We are all part of a team. We're not on an island, and we all have a role, whether you are the leader, by name or by role, you need to be able to play well with others. Christina?
I think one of the biggest challenges that we always say when it comes to, managing teams is people problems. They are the things that tend to impede our productivity and getting us to that end goal. But to kind of tack on to that, it's hard as leaders to really pinpoint causes of conflict or miscommunication. So it's sometimes more difficult to move on. And where DISC can really help your team's productivity is that it gives you data. It gives you information to create these speaking points, to create these opportunities to dialogue about what might be holding your team back. Even better, though, it also helps you to highlight the strengths of your team, as well as areas that you could develop your team further. And it helps to explain the dynamics of your team. You can look at your team as a whole, but it's also very critical and important to look at each of your team members individually. And you also have critical data on that as well.
One of the things that we know that is really important when we talk about teamwork is trust, right? Trust on a team. Without it, we're just a group of people working with probably pretty not so great results. But one of the things we know that DISC can help is to build trust, because it is an opportunity to get to know your people in a different way. And one of the things, when you know who you're working with and how they like to operate, two things can happen. Number one, trust builds, right? Because I kind of have an understanding a little bit better of, maybe strengths, weaknesses, motivators. That's the first thing. And the second thing that we talk about is that when I get to know you a little bit better, I'm going to give you more grace. I'm going to cut you some slack because you're not just an email or a name on an email, or a picture in a Zoom, I have a little bit better understanding. So when Christine and I were talking earlier today, we talked about the value of the individual report and the value of our team reports. So we're going to start talking a little bit about individual reports. Each person takes their disc and then comes up with this individual data and it talks about strengths, what motivates you, what demotivates you, what can happen to you when the pressure hits, how do you like to communicate. And the nice part about that is we can get all of that data onto a team report that can really speak to you about what happens when the group gets together. And I like that because it gives me a 60,000-foot view of who is in front of me.
And I think what's so important about that data is DISC in itself has no value judgment, right? It's not saying that my style is better than your style. It's simply saying that I like to, I'm a listener and Wilma's a talker. And so because of these differences, we might find it challenging. We might miscommunicate, or I like to move quickly and maybe she doesn't want to move as quickly. She wants a lot of information. So again, it helps us kind of identify where we might find our challenges, where we may miscommunicate. But even better, the reports themselves don't only just tell you, here's where you're different. The report actually gives you suggestions for if I wanted to improve my interaction with Wilma, these are things that if I tried harder, if I made more of a conscious effort and pushed myself outside my comfort zone, then I would probably be able to better my interaction with each of my team members. And that's really the value of DISC. It's not answering questions. It's not going to fix your team, but it gives you supporting information and opportunities to dialogue about what might be challenging and, what ways could we better assign roles and responsibilities of our team based on what motivates, what maybe one person likes to do certain things like, focusing on those spreadsheets, which Wilma and I actually both kind of go, oh yeah, no, we'll give that to Amy. But it helps us to assign those roles that actually motivate certain colleagues of ours. They're like, oh yeah, spreadsheet, their eyes sparkle when they hear that word. Wilma and I wanted to show you just kind of some of the things that you can find in the report. And the ones we picked were motivators. So I'm going to start with the D styles. So if you think about each person, everybody has things that tend to energize them, meaning they respond very positively too. Also in the report are things that tend to drain your energy or demotivate you. It's not that we can't do it. It's not about our ability, but we might want to avoid it, or we just kind of don't really feel comfortable doing it. But imagine having those team members on your team that actually, they like to do things you don't do. So D styles, they like what motivates them. When you're interacting with your D style, get to the point, be very action oriented, not just face to face. When you're on the phone, when you're sending them to an email, they don't care as much about those details. Just give me that executive summary. Cut to the chase. Just avoid the chit chat. I just want to know. Just tell me what I need to know. And they are very results driven, especially their own. So give them opportunities to be independent. Give them opportunities to make their own choices. And your D style will tend to respond in a much more positive way.
Yeah, I love the D when they just want to get stuff done.
Yeah.
and that motivates them. Let's just get this done.
Yeah.
So what motivates our I style? We know our I style, the color is that sunny bright yellow, right? What motivates them? People. They like acknowledgments. They like to have positive interactions. They don't want to be drowning in the data, right? They want to have a little bit of fun in the interaction. And when we talk about these motivators, right, you're not just one style, right? So the I style, they're leading as an I style, and we're working with an I style, and you hear the volume going up with your I team, and they're having a lot of fun. We remind you, I's work best when they feel like they're contributing, and that there's no problems. You know, their motto, I'm a really nice person, everyone should like me. They don't want to have that hand-wringing experience of, oh, I did something wrong. You're not liking me. So our motivator parts for our I style is, you know, really commit and get involved and have a little fun.
For the S styles, you know, in reality, the 4 DISC styles, that we have what we call opposite pairings. So D styles are, you heard me say, achievement focused, independent, fast. Your S styles tend to be more of their polar opposites, meaning they like things to go a little bit slower. They don't like to work independently. They want to be part of a team. They don't like to be rushed. They're about building relationships. They want to trust you. They want to build that rapport, and they are most comfortable when they are in a stable environment where we've agreed to things. This is what we're going to do, and then we're going to proceed forward doing it. So the prediction is that, you know, S styles and D styles, they must kind of butt heads. It's possible. And you might want to be able to identify, you know, your D styles and your S styles. But also what we want to do in terms of, again, managing that miscommunication is for each to recognize the strengths in the other person, that what is strong in the S style, they may be a challenge to the D style. So I'm an S style. And for me, when I think of like making those cold, difficult, hard decisions that, you know, take all the emotion out of it and just, you know, it's going to happen, you know, it just makes me so uncomfortable. And knowing that I have a colleague on my team that feels okay with it, you know, like, yeah, I can deliver bad news. I don't have any problems with that. It makes my life so much easier, I'm telling you. So not only do we recognize the differences of our styles, but we need to help our colleagues value the differences that other styles bring to our team.
Yeah, I think that's a nice description of how a style can complement one another. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that we always want to focus on, not our differences, but how can we complement one another? So our C styles, this is our analytical style. They want to have time to prepare. They don't like mistakes. They don't like getting it wrong. So they want to be organized and ready. They want to do their homework and show up with done, 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 complete, complete, complete. In terms of communicating with them, they're happy to have a conversation, but they'd like you to follow it up with, you know, a written paper trail. They are clear in terms of how they want to proceed, and they like to operate in a logical fashion. As a result, in terms of instructions that you'd like to give your C employees, they probably would like it in writing, you know, highlighted A, B, C, D points, you know, 1, 2, 3. They're very logical that way. And just because you have opposites on your team, as Christina said, that what we really have to start to look at is, what does that other style bring to us that maybe that we don't bring? How can I value that that role? So this is just one section, and as Christina said earlier, motivators light us up. We like our motivators. It's not about your ability, right? It's about your energy that it takes. So one of the things that we say about DISC is that DISC gives you a roadmap on how to communicate. And one of the things we always encourage our teams to do is get curious, ask for feedback, talk to your team, get to know them. You know, you have lots of data that you can cull from these reports that will help you get an impression, but there's nothing like having a conversation with your team members to figure out, hey, is this working? Christina, do you like to have communications written down and sent you an email? Or can I just drop by your office? What works for you? Because remember, all of this conversation is not about how I like to get communication. It is ascribed to the receiver. So when I'm working on a team, I need to think not just what works for me, but how can I bring my best by being considerate of the other people who have a different style than me and the people that have a similar style, and investigate, hey, what's working?
And then the last thing I would just like to say is the great thing about DISC is it builds upon itself. The fact that once we start all making these adjustments, once DISC becomes part of our language, it becomes easier. We start to do it, and it begins to actually minimize that miscommunication and conflict. And this kind of impediment to reaching our goals and productivity starts to kind of go away. It works. I guarantee you, we've worked with many, many teams. So hope you guys will try it out. Thank you guys for joining us today. We do have another webinar. It won't be until May 19th. It is a 30-minute webinar about our 4 steps. And if you know Wilma and myself, we live and breathe those 4 steps. It is a gold mine for you to be able to deliver this to your in DISC sessions and one-on-one coaching to salespeople, leadership. Highly recommend you attend. So thank you again for joining us, and have a wonderful rest of the day.
Good luck, everyone. Thank you.